Good morning, good morning, good morning. Phenomenal day to you. Welcome on in. You rock it with your boy, Dwayne Roberts, man. Today, man, we talking, let's talk disc, right? Excited. If you're here, man, and you rock it with me, good morning, top of the AM to you. Thank you for taking time and rocking with us today. Um, if you are following on the social media, listen, welcome, welcome, welcome. YouTube, welcome. Listen, do me a favor, man. In the chat, drop your name. Yep. Tell me where you're chiming in from. Share some of your hobbies. What's the things that you enjoy? Yeah. And what brings you in today? Like, let's talk. This is dedicated to those nonprofit leaders or emerging leaders, those individuals who just want to grow and develop their leadership or their personal brand or their personal leadership, right? That's what it's all about today. Also, tell me, drop in the chat, let me know what's some of your biggest challenges that you face as a leader. Is that good? Yep. Drop in the chat where you from, what kind of hobbies you enjoy, why are you here today, like what brought you in today, and what's some of the challenges that you've maybe faced as a leader. Let's go ahead and do that. Listen, for you individuals out there who don't know who I am, man, allow me to introduce myself to you. My name is Dwayne Roberts, and currently live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm from Miami, Florida. Um, Love it out here in Colorado Springs, that's for sure. Who am I? Well, I'm just a guy that God chose to show a little favor and love to and sprinkle his grace upon. I'm a husband, a father of six. I'm passionate about people, man. If I can be quite honest, man, some people call me the peoply style person. I just love people, man. And it's my aim, my desire to empower individuals just to develop into the best version of themselves. A lot of work that I'm able to do is work with men in this place of personal development and personal leadership. And then I get a phenomenal opportunity to work with organizations, particularly nonprofits, in the realm of leadership, helping them strengthen their organization and culture, as well as strengthening their leadership team. Maybe you got some emerging leaders, right? Right, they're struggling with their capacity to lead. Maybe you're facing within the organization construct communication issues. You know, how do we avoid a conflict? Like, how do we develop a cohesive team? And one way I know to do that is better understanding how I show up. You know, at the end of the day, if I can be quite honest, a few years back, man, I had this phenomenal opportunity to sit with a phenomenal leader, someone I deeply respected, and and I was just trying to figure out how to lead my team. At this moment in time, they wasn't responding to me in the manner in which I would hope they would have. And I felt like I was just spinning my wheels in leadership. Like, yo, I got all this experience, 15 years and over 15 years on active duty in the U.S. Army, and I'm spinning my wheels on in leadership. I know how to get things done. I know how to motivate and to get people to do things. At least I thought I did, right? In actuality, I was just pushing hard. But at the end of the day, leadership requires some form of reflection, connection, not reflection, but well, it does requires reflection, but requires connection. And so what I realized for myself was that I was not connecting. And I'll never forget when this particular leader linked in and they said to me, Dwayne, don't just lead, but become a practitioner of leadership. He went on to tell me the truth about leadership, you know, and that is it's not about knowing the answers, but it's about becoming a student of people, you know. And he introduced me to this simple framework that I'm going to talk to you today about DISC. He said to me that some people like to take charge, others like to bring energy and connection, and some are steadfast and dependable. And some leaders, just some leaders, are driven by details and excellence. He also shared with me that if you learn to recognize and respond to these particular leadership styles in your team, well, you'll be not only unlock their capacity to lead more effectively, but you'll also unlock your effectiveness as a leader. It'll take your leadership to the next level. And I got to admit, guys, um, that moment in time really shaped how I began to start leading and look at leadership. So I'm excited for the opportunity to share with you these simple, practical steps that really help me propel my leadership. That good? At the end of the day, man, it's really about unlocking your greatness. Like, how do we make the impact that we desire? And so I want to say to you individuals that's tuning in, that's walking on the Zoom, listen, thank you for connecting. As we get ready to embark on this practical introduction of DISC, listen, we won't cover everything, but there's a few things I want to bring to your attention. Realize that this is for those particularly those nonprofit leaders, those and your team, to help you discover and understand your behavior style and to help you gain clarity about your behavior so you can grow in self-awareness and become a more effective leader. John Maxwell says this, that you must value yourself to add value to yourself. And we're going to deep dive that a little more, but I think it's true. As a leader, you have to be able to see and add value to you. You know, they say one of the hardest thing about leadership is being able to lead yourself. They also say that leadership isn't about getting other people to do the right thing, but more so about getting the leader himself or herself to do the right thing. And leadership is often hard to lead yourself than it is to lead other people. So true, right? In this place of becoming an effective leader, well, I believe that it's going to require you to apply some simple principles. So today, man, when we tap into this Let's Talk This workshop, man, we're going to explore the law of the mirror, being able to, one, do the reflection board and recognize our own strengths. And then we're going to learn our unique leadership DISC style and how we prefer to lead or show up in our leadership. We're going to open it up with a few questions and answers and close this thing out. Is that good? Good stuff. So here we go. I don't get back where I was. There we go. Let's get this thing started.
All right. Does everybody understand your appointed tasks?
Dan, I'm very concerned about scope creep. When did this third floor become a thing?
Come on. Multi-story projects are where it's at. Who wants a first floor apartment anyway? People should be able to see this thing from miles around.
Not according to the original plan. And will there be vehicle access around this side of the structure?
Sarah,
Yes, sir.
we haven't heard from you yet. Do we have enough supplies for
6 floors.
Well, I don't want to get in between.
Technically, yes. We have enough room for.
6 floors it is.
How does engineering feel about this?
We haven't gotten the numbers back from them yet.
Ian? I understand your enthusiasm, and I certainly do appreciate it. But, well, Christine and Sarah, they have their finger on the pulse of the project. The original plans call for a 2-story structure, and we're going to stick with 6 floors.
Don't be that kid. Your personality was with you since the sandbox. It affects you and everyone around you in your current sandbox as well. Isn't it true that everyone communicates but few connect?
Come on. I love that little video, that illustration there of the 4 different DISC behaviors. At the end of the day, DISC isn't designed to put you in a box. It's designed to really help bring awareness to how we show up as leaders so we can make the needed adjustments to be more effective in our leadership. You know, John talks about in his book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. He talks about this one principle, the law of the mirror, where he says that you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. And I believe that many leaders simply overlook their strengths because they come so natural to us. And today, this section is really going to help us deep dive and do reflection into our own self image, realizing that as leaders, personal development is the belief that we are worth the effort and energy needed to develop ourselves. So, in essence, the first person you need to learn to lead is often you. While it might be the hardest, that might be the hardest thing to do is to lead ourselves. It's what's required, right? So the first person we have to be able to examine is our own self through the law of the mirror. You know, I'll never forget from my own self that moment in time where I had to do the deep boy. I was shaving one morning, preparing for work, and I was looking in the mirror and I just asked myself, like, yo, how do I need to show up today? Think about that. If our perception is distorted, then our attempts to influence others, well, it's going to be misguiding and it can even become manipulative. The first person we must know is yourself. And this simply brings self awareness to us. And that's what it's all about. It's developing this awareness about who we are, yeah, and the strengths that we bring, as well as help us recognize our limitations or weaknesses and blind spots. The first person we also must get along with is often ourselves. You know, this leads to a healthier self-image. If I can get along with myself, I can see um, I have a healthy outlook on how I show up or who I am, right? Removing the doubt or the fear or the uncertainty. The first person to cause us a problem is often ourselves. So attempting um, or omitting the truth yields self honesty. At the end of the day, you have to be honest about where you are in life as well as in your leadership. Like, how am I showing up, Dwayne? What's the question that I would ask myself frequently each morning when I was going in the office, just so I can become mindful of my behavior. The first person you must change is going to often be, again, yourself, because this empowering attitude paves the way for self improvement. When you start doing the work on you, what you begin to do is cultivate a culture for other leaders and other people on the team. When I started doing the work and I started understanding my behavior and how I was showing up, it changed the dynamics in the office. It literally changed the dynamics in the office. And oftentimes, as leaders, we may be a little frustrated with the lack of productivity. We may be a little frustrated with uh, the procrastination or whatever the case may be, or the mismanagement of our time, right? And being mindful of myself helped me be mindful of others. And so, one question I would ask myself, and here I want you to ask yourself this one question: what keeps me from being effective in my role as a leader? And that was the question I would ask myself. Like, what's keeping me from being effective? What's holding me back um, from being a better team player? What's holding me back from, or yeah, that's holding back my effectiveness to communicate one, my value, but more importantly, um, team members' value, right? Think about that for yourself. Like, what's that thing for you? At the end of the day, if we can be quite honest, it's important to understand this one thing, that one, we all are different and we are predictably different. Yeah, we know that, right? You can see that. Listen, everybody, I walk in the office and everybody wasn't like me. people had different points of views about how to get the job or task done. And while I was driven for a result, while I was used to um, make it happen, ask questions later. That was the mentality that I grew up in, transitioning from active duty into the nonprofit. And so it leads to me to ask this question: like, what are three contributing factors to people's behavior styles? You know, we got to be mindful. One, that we all um, grew up in a different environment. I was transitioning from active duty into the U.S. Army into the nonprofit sector. On active duty, everything was do what I say, not as I do, right? And so I was always aimed to make things happen, ask questions later, you know, at home, hereditary. Like some of our predictability differences are groomed at home. We learn certain values and learn certain leadership styles or behaviors from our parents, right? We also learned certain behavior patterns and leadership styles from our different role models. I shared with you earlier about the role model who helped me begin to start seeing my leadership in a different way, right? So, who are those role models in your life that you recognize that um, that added value to, or who are those role models in your life that you recognize and say, you know what, man, I would love to adopt that leadership style or behavior. You know, when I think about it, I'll never forget the day I met this particular phenomenal leader. I won't call no names. Um, and the first words out of his mouth that really attracted me was that he said, "I am a practitioner of leadership." Uh, and hearing those words made me say to myself, man, I want to be that. I want to do that. Now, being mindful that um, later in the course of my career, going back to this particular leader, and he says to me, "Hey, don't just lead, but be a practitioner of leadership." Was his words to me, and I want to in our meeting, and that's when I had adhered to what he had to say. Sometimes, just sometimes, we see leaders' behaviors, we see leaders' actions, we hear what leaders say, and we like what they say, do, and we say to ourselves, "Man, I want to be more like that." However, we never take the time to apply for ourselves, like, how does that fit in my life? And if I want to become a practitioner of leadership, what will it require? And that was some places I had to really go to for myself to unpack. And when I began to start learning what it is, what DISC was, oh man, it opened my eyes to such a magnificent outlook on leadership. So let's get into this. Finding your DISC style. Come on, somebody. So what I got on you up on the screen is the DISC behavioral model. So how do we find our DISC style? In retrospect, and to keep this real simple, man, some of us are outgoing, some of us are reserved. So what's the difference? Outgoing people tend to speak and move at high levels of energy, whereas reserved people tend to speak more quietly and less forceful, right? Outgoing people move fast, where reserved people are methodical. They take their time. They process the next move. And then we have those individuals to the left who are task oriented, and those task oriented individuals are more focused on, gosh, tend to focus on the job or the task to be done. They're focused on accomplishing the goal. Yeah. And then to the right, we have those individuals who are more people oriented, meaning they enjoy the company of other people. They like to focus their efforts and energy on people. Yeah. And they prioritize people at the end of the day. So you have outgoing, reserved, task oriented, and people oriented. And within that frame, you have also the DISC profiles. D for dominant or decisive. I for influential or influencing. S for steady or stable. And then C for compliant. So if you fell into the DI perspective, you'll probably be more outgoing. If you were in the S or C perspective, you would be more reserved. To the left, if you fell under the D or C, you would be task oriented, have a task oriented behavior style. And if you was an I or S, you would have a people oriented style. So in essence, if your behavior style was that of a dominant or decisive behavior, you would be outgoing, direct, result oriented type of style person. To the left, if your behavior style fell into the I perspective, you would still be outgoing, extroverted, and you will be people focused. You'll be very energetic, high energy. To the bottom of the spectrum, if you fell into the S behavior style, you'll be steady, reserved, and people oriented. And if you fell under the C style, you will be reserved as well as task oriented. So think of the C style as more analytical, more detailed, and more precise. Which one would you say is more like you? Are you more outgoing, dominant, and task oriented, meaning you're decisive, result oriented? Write that D down for yourself. Maybe you resonate with being influential or I style, behavior style, where you're outgoing, people focused, and energetic. And if you are the S style or steady, yep, you're loyal, you're calm, you're dependable, you're reserved, and you're people oriented. Write that S style down for yourself. And if you fall under the C style, conscientious behavior style, you're reserved and you task oriented. Some behaviors that you may exhibit is being analytical, detail focused, and very precise. Identify for yourself where your strength may lie. So when you think about the dominant behavior style, go ahead, meet David. David is a strong leader. He's a problem solver. He's focused on results, and he's a risk taker. Some behavior styles you may notice about him is that he's determined, decisive, and domineering. Here's something interesting too. Dominant style individuals may attempt to work too much. Let me read that over. Dominant style individuals may attempt too much at once. Is that you? Identify for yourself. Write that down. You know what? I think that's me. That I resonate with that. Then we have Isaiah, the influential or interactive behavior style. These individuals are enthusiastic. They're outgoing. They're persuasive. They love to talk. Yeah. They're very trusting. Oftentimes, we like to think of them as being inspiring, influencing, and interactive. These individuals are energetic. How would I know or recognize interactive behavior style? Well, or an influencing style, or individuals are great at communication. They are your communicators. They communicate with ease at the end of the day. Then there's your steady behavior style. You know, they stabilizing. Scholar. Scholar is supportive, steady, and stable. Some characteristics that you'll notice about him is that he's empathetic. He's patient. Um, they're supportive. They're great listeners, and they are the glue to the team. Man, they're loyal. They're calm. They're dependable. The steady style individuals, they like to maintain the harmony in the community or within the organization. And lastly, there's Carl, right? The compliant, cautious behavior style. These individuals are calculating. They're very consistent. They're accurate. They are the thinkers and planners. They have high standards and they can be very systematic at times. How would I recognize one of these individuals? Because of their compliant styled individuals. Their compliant style individuals are thorough and meticulous. Which one you in the chat? Drop in the chat. Let me know which one you are. Good stuff. Answer this question. Here we go. Let's answer this question. What's one strength you recognize about yourself? Drop that in the chat. Write down one strength that you might have recognized about yourself. And what's one compliment someone has given you about your strength? Yeah, write that in the chat as well. Real simple, real direct, just 4 simple behavior styles of how we show up. You know, if you want to go deeper in this, and you want to unpack this further, I want to invite you to consider getting access to our DISC assessment. You can head over to the webpage, DwayneHRoberts.com. There you can get access to the DISC assessment and a debrief with me. So go schedule that call for yourself. All right. So I want to go into some quick group discussion. Let's see here. There we go. Discussion. How does your DISC style show up in team meetings? Yeah, that's the question. How does your DISC style show up in team meetings? Drop it in the chat. Let me know. For me, in team meetings, sometimes I can be very creative, right? I get these great ideas, and because I'm so passionate, I want to see people and teams win. I can overshare my enthusiasm in the meeting, right? And so I have to be mindful of that for myself. Like, yo, um, Don't overshare. You know, if you think you have something to add value and be done, right? That's how I kind of typically show up in when I'm in a team meeting or I'm working with um in the community. Maybe I'm working with I do a lot of I sit on a few boards, right? Let's say it that way. I sit on a few boards and I have to be mindful not to overshare or become too talkative. Literally. Next question. What are well, I'm sorry. What's one area where your style may cause tension with others? You know, that's such a great question, right? Um, I believe sometimes my behavior style is that of an advisor or a nice S. That's my strength. I'm an influencer as well as my second primary behavior style is being stable or steady. However, my conflict, what one area of your style may have cause tension, yeah, where I might cause tension or conflict with others is if that individual is a C style, behavior style. They're analytical, they're thinkers, they're processors, they're people. I have to be mindful that my enthusiasm or my creativity or my talkativeness, being too talkative, um, can annoy them simply because they're looking for the details. They want to process the information. So whenever I'm working with a calculating or cautious style behavior leader, I have to be mindful that when I speak to share details, to give a step by step. That way we can connect and communicate more effectively. In the past, I would just shoot them with all my enthusiasm. I'll be excited about the event or the product that we're doing or producing the result that we want to produce, the vision at the end of the day. And they're sitting around waiting for what you didn't tell me how we're going to do it. What steps are we going to do? How are we going to measure this for effectiveness? They're waiting for all they're waiting for all the information so they can process it and then they want to add to it, right? And so sometimes um, being too enthusiastic, I can lose a C style behavior. So I have to be mindful of that. And question number 3, how can valuing your style lead to valuing others? Man, this is such a phenomenal question, right? Because when I begin to better understand me, how I was showing up in these spaces, particularly in the nonprofit sector, when I first stepped out into the nonprofit sector, um, it helped me realize that um, there was a disconnect. Everybody didn't move as fast as me, and I had to be okay with it. Yeah, I had to understand that some people they need maybe 2 or 3 day notice before you can expect them to even begin doing the project because they're going to process it. They're meticulous. They're looking for information. They're waiting to get out. They're trying to find the right time to do it. And I have to be mindful of that. And I have to understand this um, is what motivates me don't motivate everybody else. Think about it. Everybody vehicle takes a different type of gas. You can put 85 octane in it, 87 or 91 or 93. I can't remember which one it is, right? Which one do you prefer, right? Most people, depending on their dollar amount, they know their car take a 93 octane. We put 85 in it, right? But then there's those people who know that the vehicle takes a 93 octane and they put that 93 in it, right? And it's all at the end of the day, it's all a preference. And this place of being able to add value to people is understanding, am I bringing my 93 game or do I need to dial back and bring that 85 game, right? Because I want to be able to connect with them. I don't want to overpower them with being too talkative. I don't want to overpower them with being too enthusiastic because I come off unrealistic and they close off. So if I meet them where they are, where their preferences are, they prefer to fill up on 85. Well, then all of a sudden now I know how to speak and add value to them at the level and measure they prefer to receive it at. That's the key, man. That's I don't know if that octane analogy was the best, but that was the one that came to mind right now. But listen, man, ask yourself, sit with these questions, man. Like, how does my behavior style show up for my team? Two, what's the one area where my style may be causing tension? Like, where's my leadership style causing tension with other people? And then three, how can I show or how can I value not just my style, but lead to value others, their perspective? Is that good? Man, I hope so. Man, listen, that's it. I want to open this up for questions, man. I would love to know what questions do you have? Here's some ways you can address your questions. I'm gonna encourage you. Either you can DM me on my Facebook or LinkedIn, or you can send me an email at booking, BOOKING, at DwayneHRoberts.com. I will be sure to answer your questions. Now, if you say to yourself, man, I love to learn more about this, and how can I how often am I doing this? My goal is to present this to leaders and emerging leaders and nonprofit leaders once a month. And so I love to know what some of the challenges that you may be experiencing within your organization and how I can add value to you by bringing these simple, short trainings to your organization. You can connect with me by heading over to the webpage, DwayneHRoberts.com. I hope this was good, man. If this was good, man, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I truly appreciate it. I want to encourage you with this last word of encouragement, and that is realize that you have everything you need to take your life to the next level. That's because your success is in your hands. I'm your boy, Dwayne Roberts. Have a phenomenal day with purpose. God bless.